Hi, everybody. I'm David Asman. Thanks for joining us tonight. Teeing off the show, standing up to the feds. Now, most Americans, by almost any poll now, don't like what the feds are planning to do with health care. But the folks inside the Beltway don't seem to care. They're intent on ramming it down our throats, no matter how idiotic or confusing it is. And when you look at some of the twisted logic that's been thrown around to support this monstrosity of a bill, like saying, for example, we can insure 30 million more Americans without adding a single dime to the deficit, you realize how completely out of touch with reality the folks inside the Beltway have become. To start with, when you add 30 million to something, well, that means it'll cost more. Not the same, not less. It's amazing that such a basic point of reasoning has to be spelled out at all. But that's how distorted Beltway rhetoric has become. Only in Washington could adding 30 million to something mean it'll cost less. That logic may make sense to politicians who've never had to balance their accounts, but most of us have to balance books every day. And that's why we're not fooled by Beltway math. As we've mentioned a lot here, we believe a lot more in the collective wisdom of the public than we do in the out-of-touch know-it-alls inside the Beltway. And the public aren't just sitting back and taking it anymore. The Tea Parties, they were the first salvo against Beltway arrogance, but now the opposition is becoming a little more focused in the form of direct legal attacks against what the feds want to do. Florida is among a growing list of states debating a proposed amendment to its own state constitution that would try to block much of the federal health care reform on grounds that it tramples individual liberty. We'll talk about how in just a moment. The process, though, is called nullification. And it's a nearly forgotten American political tradition that dates back to the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions of 1998. These, by the way, were secretly authored by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. They asserted that states could judge for themselves whether the federal government had overstepped its bounds. But is it anything more than a symbolic effort? Joining us now, State Representative Cynthia Davis. She is from Missouri, which is also considering a nullification amendment. Ms. Davis, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, too.
I appreciate you being here. Now, tell us exactly how this is going to work. What is in the act that you're proposing?
It does two things. Number one, it says that you cannot force us to purchase your medical insurance plan. And number two is it says you cannot punish us if we don't. So I'm enthused about it because it's the right time and it's the right way to stand up to a bully.
All right. Now, a lot of people have focused on that and questioned the constitutionality of forcing people who don't have, like folks like me, frankly. When I was in my 20s, I didn't have insurance. I didn't think I needed it. I was healthy. Thankfully, nothing bad happened to me. But millions of those people in the uninsured category are in the same position. They really don't want it. You think it's unconstitutional to force them to get it?
Well, first of all, I'm a little bit fatigued with all the people vilifying the people with no insurance. There are plenty of good people in Missouri who don't have insurance, and they do pay their bills. So I'd appreciate it if those in Washington would stop all that rhetoric about people with no insurance are the ones who are bankrupting our health care system. And secondly, I don't appreciate them vilifying all the insurance companies, especially since they're trying to use those to force everybody to buy insurance.
All right, but specifically, do you think it's unconstitutional to force people to buy insurance that they don't want?
Oh, it's outrageously unconstitutional, and I am sorry that our Congress doesn't have a history lesson and doesn't have a Constitution lesson, but they're about to get one. And if they don't understand what the 10th Amendment is or what's in our Constitution, we're going to wake them up, and they're going to learn pretty soon and pretty quick that they can't do this.
All right, well, hold on a second, because you jumped right into my next question. What part of the Constitution makes what they are proposing, forcing people who don't want insurance to get it, what makes it unconstitutional?
The 10th Amendment says that they cannot come up with any law, no matter how grandiose they think it is, unless they have constitutional authority to do so. So there's not one word in the U.S. Constitution that says they have a right to propose health care legislation.
All right, now you know of the Supremacy Clause. The Supremacy Clause essentially